Hey, welcome back to Jacovitz Podcast number 2. We'll just go right in. We only have a couple of questions, and this is going to be a short one. When we thought about this podcast, we were thinking about how some of the students that some of the tutors in here taught when they were teaching public school, and what some of the students are coming back and saying, and how the job market is right now. Now, keep in mind when we get information from the Bureau of Labor and Vital Statistics, we're looking at like old publications, meaning they're not from 2023, the year this podcast was made. They're like from 2018, 2020, and 2021. Speaking of, a person trained in geology and chemistry may have a future in the employment industry. According to the Bureau of Labor and Vital Statistics 2018 study, geologists who worked in oil and gas extraction held 4,670 jobs. Maybe the statistic will increase because now we're drilling on other areas. So let's move into something else. We wanted to talk about what recent college graduates can do if they're not receiving immediate employment. So we talked about income, and a lot of times people call this replacement income. Like if you lost it, and I don't mean disability, I mean replacement. There are some things you need to know, like if you can do trading for your relatives, if you got actually a license, Series 7 or Series 6, you can you just, Google up Series 7, SERIES, 7 exam, Series 6, and if you have relatives, those people can become your clients, because I think you have to do something like 2 or 3 trades a year. And those are little trades because I think so. Some of them are little trades. Maybe you have some relatives who would be willing to lose $2,000 per investment per year, and then you get better at training yourself on how to learn that. That's one way. Also, a lot of people who are wealthy, or who have, let's clarify that, who have $1 million in assets or more, their parents bought them life insurance policies, and I mean whole life insurance policies. I'm not talking about term life insurance policies. And so they sometimes use those as collateral to build things, to buy things, and to get homes, so they have less to do. In the meantime, they can work a job at a retail store or somewhere else. So those are all kinds of things. If you look it up, there are a couple of applications that'll pay you. Supposedly some of the books that are Audible will pay you to read for them. So those are other alternatives. Okay, so next thing we need to talk about, you can ask your friends if they'd like to form a corporation and try to get into investments, anything from real estate, anything to, doing trading accounts, like once you pass some of the examinations to make you licensed. Maybe there's a way you can get around that as a corporation without, and I'm not sure how, and I'm not sure you can, but this and another, and you take a lot of liability when you're a corporation that deals with people's money. So you need to get on whatever state or whatever region you're from and see how that works. And a lot of people say they're a day trader, but let's clarify a day trader. A day trader is somebody who has an actual number of trades that he or she makes in per week. And, one time it was $25,000, or more per week. And at one time it got less, and then it went up. But there are specific income levels that the person has to make in trades. Okay. They're not talking about gains or losses yet. They're just talking about specific amount in gains and trades. Okay, we realize some of the websites and companies are giving advice, and some people aren't making enough to make enough income or earning enough. We have students here at the center who are helping us with animation, digital art skills, and because we produce books, so we need, not right now, but we had some of our former students come in, but something you could do, look up some art skills, go on a site called 5RR. So it's spelled out FIVERR.com, and see if you can offer some of your services. Okay. Now that we brought up that, where are there ventures that you can get involved in? And when I say ventures, I mean anything from, a lot of you are saying you're on all these different sites and you help raise money for this, but I mean actual things where you have a return that it may not be completely guaranteed, but at least like if you put out $1,000, you're at least getting $10 back in interest, or in, they call it return on investment, ROI, or return on investment. Okay, because if not, sometimes some of the investments that you are making, they're not really paying off for you, and you have to look at that. Okay. And if you did it in the past, please don't beat yourself up. People in this building have made some bad investment decisions, and we're learning from them, and we're trying to get better. So if you're younger than we are, you have a better chance of making those bad decisions now, or making bad investments, and looking at what you really need to do to get better. Okay. So anyway, there are several other ventures, people who are drilling, and a lot of people talk about getting royalties on minerals and drilling rights. But you have to look at what it is. There are people who are looking for drilling opportunities, and if they haven't done it yet and they're just starting and they're speculating, it's called wildcatting. You know, America is where we're filming, but we're not the only country. China, India, Canada, Australia, they have drilling opportunities too. And maybe if you look up what some of them are doing, you can see if you can get involved in those. Why am I talking about drilling? Well, cobalt, uranium, gold, of course you've heard about those, copper. People are drilling all across this globe and all over the universe, and also now on other planets, for both cobalt, uranium, and the big one is lithium. Okay? And you need to go on a website that has detailed information that lists gold, cobalt, uranium, fintech, cyber stocks, and robotic stocks. And you have to read what's really going on, and you might want to try one major website and compare it to another one. See if the information is the same, to see how to turn it around.
How do we know which stocks to choose?
So the question was, how do we know which stocks to choose? Let's go in and answer that. Lithium is one we're looking at now. There are several stocks. First of all, people in this building have various stocks. Let's name some. We have Tesla. We don't have Apple anymore, but we have what else? What's the other big one? Amazon. We have and then we have little stocks. Like there's some other stocks that are going on, and there are politics. We have Coinbase, but something happened there where they were suspended for a while, and now it didn't stop. But these are all the risks you take when you get involved in stocks, because it's not guaranteed. You could lose every bit of the money you put down. You're just hoping and speculating you're not. So right now we were looking at lithium. Why were we looking at lithium? Battery operated cars, the lithium batteries that are and for those of us who are old school, still wearing old watches, the lithium that's in calculators and this. So lithium's pretty much in top 10 countries. Out of all the countries, Africa is one of the only top 10 drilling countries for lithium. Yet exploratory companies like AVZ Minerals, they have drilling operations, but they had to suspend it over the complications of who owns the region. So they own the actual companies, they own all those drills, all those materials and tools that go in, which cost millions of dollars to get into this industry in the first place. But then they don't own completely the region, and even if they do, and they own, it's like we live in South Florida. Well, of course we don't own all of South Florida, but like we could own rights to be in a building, but then if, let's say, those rights stop in February 2024, we have to go back in and either pay to get them back, or we have to try to see if we can stay. Well, it's the same thing over here. They own the mine, but they don't own the region, and now people in the region are saying, nah, you can't just drill, and this is what's happening. So Andrada Mining and Lepetico Mining are companies who drill for lithium in Namibia, Africa. Small little places we don't even think about, not towns, but countries. You could look up these companies, Andrada Mining. The reason I chose this is because they had 14 years, supposedly, of hopeful drilling. That's the best way to say that. Okay, and they spent an exorbitant amount of money to go there. And you need to look at their profit statements. I didn't look at that. Maybe you should. And Lepetico Mining, same thing, have at least, I think, they were somewhere between 14 and 20. And so people consider that a good stability rating, because if they have 14 years for how long the mine is going to last before it loses its ability to produce, that means that those of you who just graduated have until you're about 34 years old to see if you can buy stock that costs $7.60 now and see if it'll rise to $15 and make a profit. Okay, and again, you don't have to buy on some of the trading platforms. If they sell them, you don't have to buy a complete 100 shares on all of them. You could buy 10, and that way when you think about it, you only put in $70, and if you hope it goes to 200, it's up to you. And then if you see that it went up a little bit, maybe you can trade more. So you're trying as best as you can, and you need to look up that. So that's our short podcast for today. If you have any questions, you can either info@jacovitzlearning.com, and you can ask us questions there. Thanks so much for listening.